ultimately Steve as well, when they served as the chairman of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, that they represented all of businesses in the United States of America to the United States and to countries around the world. I saw how they stood for these ideas, the idea of personal freedom and economic freedom. And in Jay's speeches, he would talk about them. They are like twins that cannot be separated. They go together. These ideas are vital. And so this idea that when you are building your business, you're not only earning an income, you're building your life. And so we have to think in terms of the value and the importance of what this means to you, to your family, and to your future. This is not a business transaction. We are not in Amway as a business transaction. You do this, we do this, you do this, we do this. Sure, there's a lot of things we do like that, but our purpose is a relationship. We are committed to you for your lifetime and for the lifetime of the children and the family that follows. We have generational commitments. That's what that means. That's what that means. So it's powerful, that idea. And of course, family. Let's roll that one in a little bit. So many times, families are unique, right? We all have family stories, right? There's always, it's great when the family gets together, except, that person's there. And it's always great when the family gets together, except maybe that person's there. And one of the things that Dad would always joke about with us, when he would talk, he'd say, Jay and I were friends in high school. We chose each other. And then he looks at us and the next generation, goes, you all didn't have a choice. You didn't have a choice. You're stuck with it. He's kind of right. We didn't have a choice necessarily, but we decided to make the positive choice. We were going to be families. The two families of Anandles and DeVosses were going to be one family. And we make that choice every day with your family. We want to be part of your family too. We are in this together. Maybe you didn't choose the other lines of sponsorship that are in part of your organization. You chose your sponsor, you chose your upline, and you worked with your downline in your organization. Maybe you didn't choose the others. You didn't maybe choose the management. But we have to have this idea that says, I'm going to make a choice now, like a family commitment, that we are going to choose each other and we're going to work at something special together in a bond and with a relationship that cannot be separated. All right? That's what we mean by family, and the fact that this can go for your family for generations. One of the best things I love about this business is when we're together many times, and here's our children, here's our grandchildren. Look at the pictures, look at what's going on. They're active in the business. They're just getting started. They're making something happen. All these ideas, excuse me, that come together with this idea of family. Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm talking too much. Need a little water here. Sorry about that. All right, I'll keep going a little bit. Hope. I mentioned earlier the major events in Dad and Jay's life that shaped them with the Depression and World War II. But I'm sure that each and every one of you have something that shaped your life. And that was a challenge that you faced. And that something traumatic or something difficult happened. And it's easy when that happens in life to think that that's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I want to congratulate you because you have moved through that. one of the biggest things that Dad would always talk about when he would talk about hope was this idea, this belief that you're not stuck. That if you're in a bad place, that if something has gone wrong, that if something is tremendously difficult, you're not stuck there. You're not destined to be in that place forever. You can do something to move through and get to a better place. And that's the idea of Amway. You can do something about it, and you can find your way through to a better place. And wherever that is, again, for your situation, we don't know what that is for you. We don't know what that challenge may be, but we can tell you with certainty, because we've seen it in the lives of people around the world, that you are not stuck. And today, I would say, if we think of the challenges that we're facing in the marketplace, we are not stuck. We can do something about it, and we're going to do something about it together to keep ourselves moving forward. You know, some of you may know the stories that Dad and Jay would write letters back and forth to each other when they were serving in the U.S. Army. And to see some of those letters, you know, and that Jay would write, you know, hey, he called Dad Richie. You know, hey, Richie, someday, Richie, this war is going to end. Someday we're going to get in business together. Someday we're going to get back home and we're going to do something special. This idea that we're not stuck, whatever the challenges, we can do different things together and move our way forward. So that's what we're talking about. It's that idea. And it applies to life, and it applies to Amway, and it applies to our future. That allows us to dream big and then do the work necessary to achieve it. So that's where we go with hope. And then reward is the very human desire to say, when I do something, there should be some level of reward or thanks. And not without humility, not that you're only doing something because you want something there, but it's a fair thing to be rewarded and recognized for work that you accomplish, for talents that you contribute, for ways that you help. And so this idea of this simple plan, this plan. I was riding with my father in the car once, and he was just looking out the window, and I said, what are you thinking about? And he just smiled and laughed. He goes, the plan. I'm thinking about the plan. This simple idea, this simple structure that was put together, and that he and Jay refined to turn it into kind of what it is today, and that John and Luke and the team continue to refine, and all of us trying to think, how do we make a little change here and a little change here, and that's good to make it better, but the core essence of the plan is there, and it works, and it has worked, and it will continue to work, because it recognizes this idea that when you do something, you will get a reward. And it's very clear about how that works. And it's our job to make sure those two things get